You're waking up this morning as far as news is concerned. Of course, I'll be taking a look on the Daily Today. Of course, the Daily Nation this morning actually speaks about, rogue officials to pay for abuses. That's actually the top story in the Daily Nation. And the Standard newspaper this morning talks about habeas corpus, why the state must produce missing man. Of course, that's as well what will be building the basis of a particular conversation right here in in this particular program. We'll be talking about the spate of abductions in the country. All right, People Daily speaks about fresh abductions cast a shadow over Ruto's presidency. Of course, the Star talks about IBC vows to stamp out political goons. Taifa Leo ni moto nyuma ya pazia. Pictures there of the opposition leaders. Of course, that was yesterday during when they were actually, going to visit Davis Lichuma, who was actually, abducted and found dumped near the Kenyatta National Hospital. Of course, that conversation we shall be having right here on the program. So stick around for that particular conversation. All right. But first things first, let's take a look on what you're waking up to this morning. And of course, one person was reportedly shot dead and 2 others injured after protests demanding the release of Maxwell Kierie, popularly known as Maxi, and Abdulaziz Moyes Zizo, who were allegedly abducted. The confrontation turned violent in the Macharia and Komaiko areas of Nairobi on Tuesday. And according to the reports, the demonstrations escalated into clashes that left 1 person dead from gunshot wounds, while 2 others sustained injuries during the unrest. The protests also resulted in significant destruction of property, including the vandalism of a hospital, disrupting essential services and raising concerns over public safety. The demonstrations were calling for the release of a young man they claim were abducted, with tensions escalating as crowds confronted security officers and unrest spread throughout parts of the affected neighborhoods.
What caused this mandamano ni kuna kijana ameabductiwa and who is by the name Zizo Abdulaziz. We as a Kenyans ambayo ni wananchi wakaaji wa huku Kiamaiko tunakuwa na wasiwasi mingi. Watoto wetu siku 3 hawako kwenda shule, na wazee wakonge wako kwa nyumba wana suffocate na hii tear gas. Unajua kama mmeua kijana wetu tena mnakuja kuua wengine hapa. Wacha nikwambie. Nyinyi ndio mnafanya hii maandamano inakuwa.
Kama kuna makosa, kotini zilijengwa za nini? Majajes waliwekwa hapo ya nini? Justice iliwekwa hapo ya nini? Kama ni kufungwa afungwe tu juu yako kotini. Sasa hatujui mali yako, tunaumia.
Kwa sababu ya wenzetu ambao walishikwa na unknown men, waliabductiwa. It's been 10 days since Maxwell Kierie was abducted. It's been 8 days since Abdulaziz Zizo alishikwa by unknown men. Tuko hapa kuambia the CS of Interior, Murkomen Kipchumba, atekeleze katiba.
Narudi alikuwa na watu kwa gari. Walisimamishwa around railway Juja Farm, hapo karibu na railway. Wakienda kutoka, hawa watu wanasema walilalishwa chini. Waliambiwa washuke kwa gari, wakalalishwa chini. Wakaulizia ndugu yangu, akasema ni yeye, wakamchukua. Wale wengine wakatishiwa wakiinua kichwa watauawa. Wakaachwa hapo, wakaenda na ndugu yangu.
Tafadhali Ruto, tafadhali Murkomen, DCI, Sakaja, Babu Owino, MP Wakili, MP Makdhiga. Nyinyi wote tunawaomba muweze kutusaidia ili tuweze kupata hawa watoto. No Maxi, no peace, no Zizo, no peace, no Olo, no peace.
Alright, moving on, Macharia activist Davis Lichuma remains hospitalized and is reportedly unable to speak for the 3rd consecutive day yesterday since he was found deepening concerns over the circumstances surrounding his disappearance. Medical reports are said to indicate that Lichuma has no visible physical injuries, raising fresh questions about his condition despite his continued inability to communicate. His family has since transferred him from Nairobi Women's Hospital to another medical facility for continued treatment and further assessment. Meanwhile, opposition leaders who visited the activist have called on the government to explain his whereabouts before he was found and to provide answers regarding the circumstances surrounding his alleged disappearance.
Davis Lichuma, ambaye kusema kweli maumivu alio nayo zaidi ni ya kuteswa. bila shaka yote bado hajitambui, ingawaji anaweza kuona kiongozi unamwambia huyu kama anatambua, lakini unaweza kuona a traumatized individual, a Kenyan citizen who believes that he has protection under the law, under the Constitution, and who has suffered extrajudicial suffering and torture. We want to make it clear to this administration and to Mr. William Ruto himself that he is a person bearing the highest responsibility for these excesses by a specialized squad. We call it specialized because I'm quite sure these are not men under the normal police organization. Or indeed, if they are, the next person responsible will be the Inspector General himself.
Callously enough, doesn't have the temerity to even acknowledge that Kenyans were abducted in full view of cameras, full view of the entire public, put in police vehicles, taken to known police stations, and subsequently removed and put into these unmarked Subaru vehicles. We are documenting all that. And William Ruto, it is very shameful that as head of state, you can indeed spend so many hours purporting to be opening bridges, and you cannot even have the courtesy to even send a message of sympathy.
Nairobi has had a very dubious record of being the epicenter of abductions, not just nationally, but regionally. It is here that Kizza Besigye was abducted. We had a Tanzanian national abducted. And a clear statement from this government to other nations that abductions will be a thing of the past. They have resorted to what they do best, using their Subarus, using men in masks, abducting and torturing fellow Kenyans.
Now, the government has dismissed claims linking it to the recent alleged abductions of activists, insisting that enforced disappearances are not part of its security policy and reaffirming its commitment to lawful security operations. Speaking during an induction program for newly appointed Deputy County Commissioner's Principal Secretary for Internal Security, that is Raymond Omolo, said the government does not support or condone abductions under any circumstances. Omolo urged families and members of the public to report anyone whose whereabouts are known as a missing person to enable security agencies to begin investigations promptly. He further stated that individuals who allege they have been abducted should identify those responsible so that the government can investigate the claims and take appropriate legal action.
Walikuwa wanatekwa nyara ama wanakuwa abducted. Wengine walikuwa wanapatikana kwa mito na sehemu zingine tofauti. Tangu tuchukue ushukani na Mheshimiwa Rais William Ruto has been very clear katika uongozi wake hakutakuwa na mambo kama hayo. And tumekuwa kwa hii taifa mara nyingi. Hivi majuzi tumekuwa na demonstrations zenye zimekuwa peaceful. Wananchi wenye walikuwa wanataka kudemonstrate walikuwa na nafasi, wenye walikuwa wako na shughuli zingine waliendelea na shughuli zao, na watu wenye walishikwa ama walikamatwa na polisi walipelekwa mahakamani. Sio tu hivi majuzi, juma iliyopita, na hata nyakati zingine ambao tumekuwa na demonstrations. Na pia tumekuwa na watu wanasema wamekuwa abducted ama wametekwa nyara. Mwishowe unapata ni watu walikuwa wanataka
The government has intensified evacuation efforts for Kenyans in South Africa, with at least 26 citizens already repatriated and 64 more expected to arrive later. That was on Tuesday and Wednesday, as authorities respond to growing anti-migrant tensions in the country. Foreign and Diaspora Affairs Principal Secretary Rosalind Jogo confirmed that the first group of returnees has already landed in Kenya, while arrangements are ongoing to bring back additional citizens in the coming days. She said the government has so far received about 200 requests from Kenyans seeking evacuation after issuing a public call for those willing to return home. According to the PS, nearly 100 Kenyans are currently taking shelter at Kenya's High Commission in Pretoria as diplomatic mission continues to coordinate assistance and monitor the situation closely. She noted that while evacuation requests have increased, the figure remains small compared to the estimated 27,000 Kenyans living and working in South Africa.
International Airport, 26 Kenyans coming from South Africa. We evacuated the first group of 26 Kenyans who are fleeing the xenophobic or Afrophobic attacks that we have recently seen in the media. That number of 26 is just the first batch of the waves of Kenyans that we are working to evacuate. We are expecting a group of 63 Kenyans to arrive a little bit later tonight and another group to arrive tomorrow. So far, since we issued a call to the Kenyan diaspora living in South Africa who would like to be evacuated or who are facing or who feel that they are currently in danger, since we issued a call for them to register, we've had just a little bit over 200 people registering. At our Kenya High Commission now in Pretoria, we have a group of more than 100 Kenyans who are taking shelter at the Kenya High Commission in Pretoria, and our team from the Kenya High Commission is extending services to them and has offered sanctuary and shelter. This group of about 200 or so who have requested to be evacuated is a small percentage of our entire diaspora in South Africa, where we have over 27,000 Kenyans living and working. It is truly sad that we have seen these kind of attacks facing communities from other parts of our country.
Now, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has criticized the government over what he describes as attacks on journalists and media houses, saying such actions undermine democracy and the freedom of expression. Speaking during a press briefing, Gachagua urged the government to focus on addressing the challenges facing Kenyans instead of directing its efforts towards the media industry. He argued that the media plays a critical role in informing the public and holding leaders accountable, stressing that journalists should be allowed to carry out their work without interference. Gachagua also called on the government to guarantee the safety of journalists by ensuring they operate in an environment free from intimidation, harassment, and violence.
Threats to the media and freedom of expression, media freedom in East Africa and in particular here in Kenya and Uganda as we approach the 2027 general elections. We have had a bad pattern in Kenya that ahead of general elections, journalists and bloggers get targeted by unpopular regimes that fear the power of the people at the ballot. Some journalists or bloggers are either disappear, they are silenced, compromised, or killed altogether. It is shameful that those stifling the media are on a barrage of attacks on the media are a product of the media and freedom of expression in Kenya. But for this regime led by a crooked dictator, learning from his counterparts in East Africa, it is worse. Journalists covering corruption stories, abuse of the rule of law, wanton looting of public resources, and other beats, and who have refused to be silenced, unintimidated, or corrupted by the state, live under perpetual fear, intimidation, and daily threats from the state machinery. Media houses that are firm on their independent editorial policy have not been spared either. Notably, on 25th June 2026, in the full glare of cameras, we witnessed a police officer throw kicks at a journalist in Nairobi streets for no apparent reason. But every day we must observe and honor the media as the fourth estate. In our country, Kenya, press freedom is not a privilege granted by the state, but a right recognized under our Constitution. Article 33 and 34 of our Constitution gives the right to freedom of expression and freedom of the media respectively. Our Constitution has not changed, and those who believe in the dark days must be reminded accordingly. It is not about what you like in the media, but the truth.
Well, that's 2 minutes past the top of the hour. We're taking a short breather here on the program, but we'll be back in just a bit.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
EBN TV cares about the growth of your business. To advertise with us, call 0725 386 501 or 0740 653 453. EBN TV, transforming your world.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
Are you ready for an uplifting experience?